Hello, folks. My name is Dana Howard, and welcome to the webinar. We're about to get started, but we know some people need a second to get set up with GoToWebinar. This webinar is appropriate for librarians and researchers and teaching faculty. This is the second in a series of 5 JSTOR webinars for 2025, covering a range of topics. Our next one in September will cover advanced research on JSTOR. In our handout, we have a link to our webinar page where you can sign up for any or all of the next 3 webinars. There you can also see the recording of our first webinar, which covered information for those who are administrators of JSTOR at your institution. We're sharing the handout link with you now in your question box or in your chat box, and we'll pin that for you to the chat box. We hope you can use this handout to refer back after the webinar as you walk yourself through the features and functionality that we'll share today. You'll also have access to the recording of this webinar by next week in the handout for easy reference. Now, let's get started with some introductions. Again, my name is Dana Howard, and I'm the Senior Education and Outreach Manager here at Ithaca. Our presenter today is Kelsey Schaefer, Partner and User Education Lead. Before I turn it over to Kelsey, I want to reiterate that this presentation is being recorded, and besides the recording being available in your handout next week, it will also be on YouTube. When we post it, we will include a linked table of contents in the description beneath the video where you can jump ahead to any relevant section of that video. All attendees will also receive the recording in a follow-up email. After you exit the webinar today, a survey will appear on your screen, and we would appreciate all feedback you can share with us. If you don't have time to answer the survey immediately, it will also be emailed to you in about an hour. Whether you respond to the survey immediately or later today, I want you to know that we hope you can share ways these webinars are and can be more useful for your work. Please let us know what topics you would like to see covered in more depth and any other thoughts that you may have about our webinars. We read every comment and use them to shape our future work. Now, I'll pass it over to Kelsey.
All right, thanks, Dana. Here is our agenda for today. First, I'll start by going through the content that is available on JSTOR, including scholarly sources and primary sources. As an example of the great content on JSTOR, you can check out our images on these slides. This one and a few others in the webinar are from one of my favorite collections, which is the International Museum of Children's Art. It's really lovely. Then I will go over access methods, so you will know not only how to access your content on JSTOR, but how to direct your students. After that, I'll go over updates to our JSTOR search and then do a demo to walk through different ways of searching for content. And then I'll cover some updates to engaging with the JSTOR content. And so this is what we call the JSTOR tools, especially on the item page. And this is where I will talk about the new AI research tool. Again, as I do this, I will be pointing out what features are recent updates so that you leave this webinar knowing what is new, but also some key features to help people with research. And finally, we'll have a Q&A session. Please keep in mind that you can enter questions during the presentation, and Dana will be keeping track of them for the Q&A. If you have specific questions about your own institution, I recommend you contacting support@jstor.org. Our goal along the way is to give you the key things you need to know going into your academic term and point you to where you can find more information to dig deeper. All right. So again, I'm going to start with a little deep dive into the content on JSTOR because, like I said, it's so vast and there's so much cool stuff. And sometimes it can feel overwhelming to figure out what is in there. And then we'll talk about access and searching so you know what the end goal is. All right, what is JSTOR? JSTOR is a digital library. JSTOR is part of Ithaca. It's our big parent. That includes Ithaca S&R, Portico, and now JSTOR Digital Stewardship Services. Our organizational mission is to improve access to knowledge and education for people around the world. And we'll dive more into what that means and how we put it into practice through the course of this webinar. There are a few ways to describe the JSTOR platform. So some call it a database or a digital repository, but we like the expansive description of JSTOR is an ecosystem of content. So JSTOR was officially launched in 1995, originally as a project as a part of the Mellon Foundation to digitize and archive print journals. So that's where the name comes from. Now we have a range of content, including scholarly and primary sources. Our scholarly sources, which are called academic sources, include journals, books that are scholarly monographs or edited volumes, and research reports. We also have primary sources, including documents, serials, images, audio, and video. I'll talk about journals first. JSTOR was originally built around journal archiving and access, and journals remain really central to our mission. One of the hallmarks of JSTOR is digitizing journals from their first volume, like the masthead issue, up through recent years, which preserves the scholarly record and supports historic research. JSTOR partners with publishers and academic societies around the world, hosting millions of journal articles spanning more than 2 centuries of scholarship. The number of journals and articles that you have access to depends on your institutional license, but we do also have a growing collection of open access journals and articles. Journals are often subject to the moving wall delay, which means a gap of content between the archival past issues of a journal and the more recent issues. The moving wall is set by the publisher, and it ranges from 0 to 10 years, although the average is more like 3 to 5. The journal cover on this slide is from a journal I found while wandering around JSTOR called The Condor Ornithological Applications. It has been in continuous publication since 1899, which is amazing. And all the issues are on JSTOR. And all the contemporary issues have a unique cover with a unique photograph of a bird. Next up on academic content is books. Books on JSTOR are scholarly monographs and edited volumes published by academic presses and scholarly publishers. Typically, we have the full text of the whole book, but you can also access it by chapter. We are excited that as of this year, we host more than 150,000 academic books. Books are sometimes organized into thematic or subject-based collections, so like archaeology, literature, education, that can be purchased or subscribed to institutionally. JSTOR also includes a growing number of open access books, which are monographs that can be read and downloaded by anyone, regardless of institutional affiliation. And our open access initiatives support wider global accessibility. So it's something we're really excited about and investing in. And on this slide, we see the cover image for Siobhan Angus's book, Camera Geologica, which is published by Duke University Press. Duke Press contributes monographs and edited volumes to JSTOR. Some books in general come in really quickly, like Duke, although it does depend on the publisher. So generally from Duke, we have most frontlist books within 3 days of their publication, which is so great. And rounding out our types of academic content is research reports. These are not as well known as journals and books, but they're really interesting. JSTOR has a collection of over 50,000 research reports from think tanks and policy research institutes, which provide contemporary analysis and commentary on a range of topics. Sample topics include climate change, border security, artificial intelligence, public health issues, including COVID-19. Reports are typically authored by policy experts or academic fellows at the contributing institutes. So they're not peer-reviewed, but they are written by recognized subject matter specialists. And all of our research reports are open access. And on the screen, we have the cover from a World Health Organization research report on sound levels. We have a huge collection of WHO research reports. Now onto primary sources. So primary sources on JSTOR comprise a wide variety of original materials contributed by libraries, museums, archives, and other cultural institutions worldwide. Types of primary sources include letters, diaries, personal papers, organizational records, pamphlets, photographs, maps, oral histories. There's such a wide range of content. JSTOR has a few core primary source collections, one is 19th century British pamphlets, another one is World Heritage Sites Africa. We also have Global Plants, which is a database of over 3 million digitized plant specimens. And we have a program called Reveal Digital, which develops open primary source collections from underrepresented 20th century voices of dissent. That's crowdfunded by libraries. We also have ArtStore on JSTOR, which is millions of high quality images and visual materials from museums and archives. And now that is discoverable alongside textual resources on JSTOR. We are running a webinar that focuses on working with images on JSTOR in October if you are interested in learning more. And then in addition, we also have some incredible local and institutional collections. Many libraries have their own digital archives on JSTOR covering local history, literature, cultural heritage, and other special topics. So when you search for primary sources on JSTOR, the content that comes up can be from any one of those categories that I just talked about. And the map on the screen is a 16th century map of the Eastern Mediterranean coastline around Beirut by a Turkish cartographer. It was contributed by the American University of Beirut. Okay, let's talk about accessing JSTOR. We know that getting properly logged into JSTOR can be a pain point for people. So I want to go through what we recommend and how you can make it easier for your users. One aspect of access is that we, JSTOR, need to know that a user is affiliated with an institution that subscribes to JSTOR. So we call this the institution link. And there are a few ways to do this, depending on where on the internet you are coming from. On the JSTOR website, to check your link with your institution, look at the banner at the top of any page on JSTOR. If it says access provided by, you are already linked to your institution, and it'll look like the top part of this slide. If the banner reads have library access, log in through your library. You should click the login link in the banner, and then you can search for your institution and log in with your institutional credentials. Alternatively, you might get to JSTOR through a direct link. For example, if you have searched for something in the library catalog and then clicked on a direct link to the JSTOR item. So if you are logged in through your library or you are physically on campus, you will be automatically linked to your institution and you'll be able to proceed. If you are not linked to your campus network or through the library login, you can use the institution finder to log in with your institutional credentials. After that initial link, you have remote access that renews every time you log in from campus. One way to make this linking process easier is to register for a JSTOR personal account. A personal account is free and ensures seamless access to your institution's content. You can make a personal account by clicking the Register button at the top of any page on JSTOR. You'll want to be synced with your school network to make a paired account, either by logging in while, again, physically on campus, or you can be connected to your institution through one of our access methods like proxy or VPN. And the link between your personal JSTOR account and your institution is maintained for 365 days, and that refreshes every time you access JSTOR on campus or log in through remote access. Once you are logged into your personal account and linked to your institution, Your JSTOR page should look something like what's on the screen, with your name or email instead of the register and login buttons. A personal account is required to access the AI research tool, which I'll talk more about later, and the JSTOR workspace. I also want to shout out the personal account because it's a great thing to tell your graduating seniors or alumni or other community members that might want access to the library's collection. I'm calling this out because when I was a librarian, students who were about to graduate were always asking how they could maintain access to the library's resources, which is like, great. I'm so glad you're asking that question. Um, some institutions do offer alumni access to JSTOR, generally through alumni associations, but some don't. So this is an option for those who don't. A large portion of the licensed journal content on JSTOR is available for read-only access with a free personal account. We also have some open access content, which doesn't require any kind of account to read. And then I'll touch on one more access option. I just talked about how you can read many articles with a personal account. We also have a program for individual subscriptions to JSTOR for those with no institutional access who need to be able to download content. This is particularly good for when you get questions from independent researchers wanting access to things. This program is called JPass. And so with JPass, an individual can subscribe and pay a monthly or an annual subscription fee to get access to JSTOR's journal content and specifically to be able to download it. And finally, rounding out our kind of back-end logging in section, I want to highlight some updates to the account page. Once you're logged in, you will be able to check your account status on your account page. So that's, you click on your name or email in the upper right corner after the question button, and then click My Account. You'll reach your My Account landing page. And this has been reorganized and redesigned for a better experience. So you can go here to reset your password, see what institutions you're linked to, and if you have a JPass or a free account, you'll see how many articles you have left. This is an area of the site that we are focusing on right now, giving people a more personalized experience on the platform. So you may see some more developments here in the coming year. Okay, in this next section, I will talk about our updates relating to searching, and then I'll demo them. And then after that, again, we'll cover the tools and the item page. All right, I talked about all of the amazing content we have on JSTOR, but of course, a large part of what we need to do is get you to that content. And so I'll demo this process in real time in a second, but I want to lay out the big picture. So we have a search bar on every page on JSTOR, and this is our basic search. We also have advanced search, which I won't highlight in this webinar, but you can get to by clicking on the advanced search link on next to the search bar. In the search bar, you input your research topic, and then you end up on what we call the search results page, where you can see what content is available for your topic. And if you see a lot of results, you can refine your results using the Refine Results sidebar, or you can use our new Semantic Results tab. Either of these options narrows down your results to hopefully give you things closer to what you want. We also have options for browse, which is great if you like to wander the stacks. Okay, I want to talk a little more about our new semantic results. Semantic results is a feature that is designed to enhance the JSTOR search experience by surfacing items based on contextual meaning rather than strict keyword matching. And it shows up as a tab on the search results page. It was rolled out to all JSTOR institutions in July of 2025, so it's quite fresh. Although if you're at a beta institution, you might have seen this labeled as something like experimental beta results. So that's the same thing. The semantic results feature typically shows the 25 most relevant items according to semantic similarity. And so instead of only finding items that include the exact words that you typed, semantic results finds materials that are conceptually similar to your search, even if they use different words. For example, searching for ecological resistance in urban planning might return results that discuss city adaptability or sustainable city design, because the semantic results model understands that these are conceptually similar or related, even if the keywords don't match exactly. So we still have our standard keyword search, which uses our special JSTOR algorithm, but now you can also check semantic results in case that surfaced anything that wasn't showing up in your other search. And with that as our background, let's jump into our demo so you can see how it works. I am going to switch out of my slides and turn off my camera so that you can see my screen a bit better. Okay, so I'm going to open JSTOR and I check my banner to see that I am linked to my institution. And then I check to see that I am logged into my personal JSTOR account. And let's use the search bar, which is the same search bar on any page on JSTOR. And this is how we search for content. As I mentioned before, the advanced search might feel familiar to many librarians, but there's so much potential in the basic search, so that's what I'm going to focus on today. And I'm going to search for Mount Rainier in the search bar. And I want to point out a couple things here before I move on. One cool thing is that we are now showing search history. So this shows you the last 3 things that you last looked up while using this browser. So it's just tied to your browser right now, not your account. And below the search history, you'll see the option to refine your search by category. But I'm not going to search by category, and I'm also not going to use my history. So I'm just going to go ahead and click search. And so I get into the search results page, and I have nearly 7,000 results. What you see in the search results depends on the content that your institution has access to. The results screen will show the type of item, the title, and the author, and then where the chapter or the article is sourced from. And you can also see previews or little selected phrases from the text and the abstract that highlight the relevant search terms. And then on the right of every search item result, you will see these buttons to quickly cite, download, or save each result. And then on the left, you'll see a checkbox next to each article, and you can use that to quickly cite or to save. And the cool thing is that you can select multiples here. So you could cite multiple articles from the search results page. And our standard pathway here is to narrow down your search using the refine results sidebar. So maybe I am interested in what primary source materials are available for my topic. So I'll check the box in the sidebar for images. And then I get these beautiful photos of Mount Rainier. This is the same as clicking the Images tab in the search bar. And then if I unclick my box, I go back to all of my results. Another option here is to add a search term. So maybe I'm interested in Mount Rainier's volcanic activity. So in the sidebar, in the search within results, I'll add volcano. And now if I look at my search bar, I see that it's added a Boolean operator. And this is a great teachable moment for students to show the operator in action. And now I can go back to my list and I have a more condensed list of articles to go through or items to go through. And I can go down and read the little text previews to get an idea of what is in each item. And that will help me decide that maybe it's time to go back to my sidebar to keep limiting my search. So now maybe let's look for academic content, which is what I was talking about earlier. And so that academic content or those scholarly sources, here I have the options for journals or book chapters. So let me go ahead and click book chapters. And you can see that there are other options in the sidebar for publication date, subject, and collection. So lots of great options there. Okay, so now let's look at semantic results. Again, semantic results is another search tool. It might surface some articles that our standard keyword search doesn't. It's not more correct or less correct, it's just different to find different kinds of content. So a couple things to note here. The semantic results responds to what is in the search bar, the terms that are in the search bar. So if you have used search within results like we did with volcano and it changed your search term, then that's what you'll get in semantic results. But it doesn't work with refining via the rest of the sidebar, like checking primary source content. So you'll notice right now that semantic results is currently grayed out because I have a filter on. So I have to remove my filter and then I can click on semantic results. So on the semantic results page, I still get my text previews as well as the download, save, and cite buttons. And I can scroll down to see some of the different things that are on here. So in this case, we see the latest eruptions from Mount Rainier volcano is the same article that we're getting at the top here. But we can scroll down and see some different things that we might be interested in. If I click back, I can click back and forth to kind of see the different things coming in. But in general, I get a different batch pushed up above the fold. So semantic results is a great tool for finding content. So that's our demo on searching for content on JSTOR, and I'm going to come back to this page in a minute. But I also want to briefly highlight our browse feature, which is another way to find relevant content. So using the browse menu, which is next, it's up in the top of the page underneath your account is browse. And you can browse by subject, title, publishers, collection, and images. And I'm going to just open the collections in a new tab. This browse collections page shows image and primary source collections only. So it's not totally comprehensive for all of JSTOR. Like you're not browsing journals or other scholarly content, but sometimes it's really fun to just scroll here. There's so many amazing collections. You can also use this to search within collections. So if I filter for something like magazine, I'm going to get some incredible examples of current and historical magazines. This is maybe useful if I'm working with my classes to make publications or zines about Mount Rainier or volcanoes. And just a small note here that the search does a search of the metadata of the collection, like the description, not individual items. And that's browse. All right, so I'm going to switch back into my slides and turn the camera back on. So now that we have talked through and demoed different options to find content, let's talk about what happens once you're in the item that you want to look into. So like in action terms, you choose an item from the search results page and you end up on what we call the item page. And I want to introduce two parts of the item page. The big obvious change is the AI research tool. And I'll also talk a little bit about the workspace, which is another JSTOR tool. And workspace helps you organize your research. So if you haven't seen or gotten a chance to use JSTOR's AI research tool yet, here is your first look and a summary. So in practice, JSTOR's AI research tool shows up on the item page for journal articles, book chapters, and research reports on JSTOR. You can engage with it to find out more about what's in the article. There are built-in buttons to identify key points and arguments from the text, or recommend related articles and topics. And then you can also use the free text field to ask specific questions. It works using only the JSTOR item. It does not use information from the wider internet. The idea here is that the JSTOR research tool is designed to support a researcher's existing content discovery workflow by helping them get to relevant items and then discover more relevant items. The tool is supported by a combination of technologies, including AI and other forms of machine learning, um, also retrieval augmented generation and natural language searching. But I know that AIs in particular can be a red flag for people. So I want to talk through some of the decisions that went into developing the research tool. Again, the research tool is really new. So it was enabled for all JSTOR participating institutions in July of 2025. But there was a long timeline leading to its implementation. We started this project in summer of 2023, and then we opened it up for individual beta testers. And then we brought on progressively larger groups of institutions, starting with a dozen and ending with a few hundred, which helped us understand scale. So we've had a really long ramp up into enabling this for everyone. And we've worked really hard to keep individual researchers central to the process. But I know that AI is a complicated topic at both the institutional and the individual level. And so, we are approaching this with a lot of care and a lot of thought. We're trying to. And we have some guardrails and guiding principles that make this tool specific to JSTOR and inclusive of our values. And I want to highlight those before the demo so that you can watch for them. To start with, we built in ways to manage access at the individual and institutional level. So each user can turn the research tool on and off for themselves on the item page. And then at a larger level, JSTOR admin can turn it on or off for your whole institution in the JSTOR admin site. Again, we know that every institution has a different relationship to AI. Some universities are going all in and want to be AI-powered campuses. And then others are taking a different approach and are not ready yet to make the tool available on their campuses. One of our principles for the tool was to aid learning, not replace learning. We want to encourage more engagement with the article or the book chapter, not less. So each answer from the tool gives citations for where it got that answer, and you can click on it to jump directly to that section. And adding on to the idea of citations, we have built in ways for you to cite the research tool's answers or your whole conversation with the tool. And additionally, you can download your whole conversation history to a PDF, which can then be turned in for an assignment. And finally, perhaps more importantly, is the focus on the source. So the tool only uses items on JSTOR, specifically the item that you are using. This means it does not pull from other sources on the internet at all. Working only on the specific item means higher accuracy and a reduction in hallucinations, which is when generative AI makes up answers. So if the research tool can't can't answer the question, it will respond as such to the user that it doesn't have enough context to answer the question. And that's because we want to be transparent about the limitations of the tool. And I'm going to show you all of these features when I demo. And finally, I will touch on our other important JSTOR tool, which is the workspace. The workspace is where you can save items from JSTOR into folders and then organize them, add notes, and export and present your research. So more on the workspace will be covered in the Advanced Research on JSTOR webinar in September. All right, so we're going to jump back into the demo. And We are back on our search results page, and I am going to find an article. Let's see, my results are a little bit different. So I am going to queue up my article, which is, okay, so this is an article about Mount Rainier and volcanoes. And if you spend a lot of time on JSTOR, you'll notice that the AI research tool rearranges the page a bit. So I'm going to turn off the tool to start to show you the original page. This toggle is sticky, so if I turn it off, it will stay off for future articles that I open. And now I see the standard item sidebar first on the left, and then the article on the right. So in my sidebar, I get about this issue, and then I get the abstract and details. And I'll pause here. Notice that in the top metadata, I get a stable URL, but I also get a remote access URL in the dropdown under this abstract and details toggle. The remote access URL is super useful because it captures your institution's remote information. So if a user saves this URL instead of the stable URL, it will remember that they are affiliated with the JSTOR subscribing institution, and you can hop right into this article instead of having to log in again. The stable URL is useful for citations, but the remote access URL is useful for teachers sharing links with students or when you're making your notes. And if we have a DOI, it's going to be up at the top next to the stable URL. I also will get my some additional search matches, references, and related text. This related text gives you suggestions of other JSTOR items based on usage patterns. And I can easily here download or save any of these. And I'm going to come back to the save button a little later on. All right, so let's switch things up by turning the research tool back on. And as a reminder, the toggle is in the top right corner. If you are not seeing the words AI research tool at all, you'll want to check whether you are logged into your personal account. You can also contact, again, support@jstor.org if you're having any problems. So again, the turning on the research tool changes the page a little bit, but the sidebar that we had before is still here. It's just now after the item. So if I scroll down, I get all those things that we just looked at. When you first open the item page or the research tool, the tool will automatically start with an explanation of how your search term relates to the document. So our search term was Mount Rainier volcano, and it is telling me about Mount Rainier, where it is, and its relationship to volcanic activity. That is like the start of the research tool. Then you can learn more about the text as a whole by choosing one of the prompts provided by the research tool or by supplying your own. So the first supplied prompt, show abstract, will show me the abstract that is included with the article. If the text doesn't include an abstract, this button instead will say, what is this text about? And it will tell me the text key points and arguments. Show related content will suggest items in JSTOR that contain similarities in text. This is different from the related items tab in the document metadata, which we looked at earlier. The sidebar tab suggests other text based on usage patterns. So it's just going to give you, again, it's a different way of looking at related items. And then my screen's a little zoomed in right now so that you can see it better. If you were at a normal Zoom, you would see all of these buttons at once, but I'll go ahead and click on this last one, open it up, and that is recommended topics. This can help jumpstart additional, so recommended topics are key concepts that are relevant to the text. And this can help jumpstart additional research by helping you narrow down your topic or providing ideas for further exploration. I like to think about this one as like what other search terms are related to the article. And then if I click on any of these, you will start a new JSTOR search. You can also ask your own questions by typing into the chat box. So you can try asking the tool about specific topics that might be related to your research. Like if I want to know some different figures that come up in this research, I can ask who is mentioned. And I like to do this to see, again, like which historical figures or what kind of sources come up. And so, I get somebody, Daniel Potts, who documented Yellowstone's hydrothermal features. Interesting. And I see also then that this article, I mean, I would have seen this from the title, but I know that this article is talking about um, volcanoes in national parks outside of just Mount Rainier. So maybe I want to ask the tool what other volcanoes are mentioned. And this might help me think about how I could support my research or argument. So I see that there's obviously like very important volcanoes in Hawaii that are also part of US parks. And I can then scroll down to get more information. And then I can also ask for something like themes. And I'll get information about the article's big themes. And you'll find that I've found that when asking a complex question, like this takes a lot of synthesis, the idea of the tool figuring out what the themes are. This can take a little bit longer for a response. If you are interested in the way that the tool works, we did a webinar last month that goes into a lot of detail with some AI literacy about the functionality, how the tool was built, how it was designed, and why exactly that's happening. But I get some great themes here. Covering, that the article is talking about the historical significance of volcanoes in national parks and scientific research, so on. I could also ask something like central argument. And I like asking the central argument. It'll give me a nice summary of the central premise. So this is like a starting point for my understanding of the article. But in general, all of these, I like to think of them as a starting point for additional, for me to keep thinking about this. This is just helping me understand the article. Also you can try asking something like, maybe I'm interested in people that have climbed Mount Rainier. So I can say, tell me about Rainier climbers. And notice, of course, that I'm phrasing my questions in different ways. In general, you can use natural language, and you don't need to word your request in the form of a question. So it was able to figure out what I wanted, both from themes and also tell me about Rainier climbers. So let me point you to some of the features that I was highlighting before. So the numbers that appear are the tools citing its sources. So I can hover over the number for a preview of the text that the answer comes from. And I can also click on it and it'll jump me to that section. And that's where I can find the particular section that's talking about climbers in the Mount Rainier National Park. I also want to point you to some of the guardrails that are built into the research tool, as again, the tool will only provide answers based on the content of the item itself. So if the article that you're viewing does not provide the answer, the tool will not then try to pull from the rest of JSTOR or from other websites. So for example, if the text does not explicitly state it, the tool will not be able to confirm, like, is this text peer reviewed? The tool is going to say that it might be peer reviewed, but that we would need to determine with certainty ourselves and links to an article of resource to do that. And that's because there's no document metadata that answers this question. I won't go into this. I'm sure you're aware it's a complicated question or complicated answer. So if I ask something else like, what is Mount Rainier's other name? Thinking about people who are working to rename the mountain Tacoma, the answer I get is like, I don't know what you're talking about, which is, that's great. I'm happy that it's answering me in that way. You can also get into a specific section of the item that you're interested in. So if I want to know more about, these climbers for Mount Rainier, I can find the section that I'm interested in, and then I can highlight that section. And then once it's been highlighted, I can click, what is this selection about? That's not a particularly long section, but I'll still get a summary there. I can also choose find related content. That went away really quickly. Sorry about that. I can also copy this text. Find related content, I need like a search term basically to find related content or to search on JSTOR there. But you can get a summary of a selection as long as it's more than about a paragraph. Once you have finished evaluating an item with the research tool, you might want to keep a record of your interaction. So you can download your conversation with the you can download your conversation history by choosing the 3-dot overflow menu after the question box, and then choose download as PDF or as HTML. You can also cite the AI research tool, which will give you auto-generated citations for the tool itself. And then you can also cite a specific response to the tool by clicking the icon here. But we do want to remind you that like citation methods for AI tools are still evolving. So follow your disciplinary or institution-specific guidelines in addition to the tools that we have built in here. For your best results, you'll want to cite or download your conversation with the tool before leaving the item page, since the tool only displays your current conversation for that item for up to 3 hours. And finally, please do send us feedback. You can do that via the button after the tool, or you can give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to individual responses. But we really do look at this, and we use this to make decisions and to continue to refine the tool. All right, so that's what I want to show you today on the research tool. If you want, again, a deeper dive into the research tool, we do have that webinar that is linked in our handout if you want to go back and watch that. But let's shift gears and look briefly at our other major JSTOR tool, which is the workspace. And the workspace has been around for a few years. It's a place to store, add notes, organize, present, download, or share that content you have curated with others. So on the item page, I can save the item that I'm looking at using the Save button. And when I click on the Save button, I can save into my main workspace. Sorry, my mouse is a little messy. Or I can save into an existing folder, or I can create a new folder. And then, as we talked about earlier, you can also save from the search results page. And now I'll click on the workspace button, which is in the top of every page on JSTOR, and get into the workspace area. So now I am looking at my workspace home, and you'll see that I have items organized into a couple dozen folders. There's a lot more you can do with Workspace, but this is just a taste. I just want to show it to you because we will cover the Workspace more extensively in our advanced JSTOR webinar. But just remember the core functionality here of saving your research on JSTOR with the Workspace. And then as we wrap up, I want to remind you that there are a bunch of ways to get help with JSTOR. Our support team is so incredible. They are our colleagues. We work with them all the time. They are real people who are excellent at problem solving. You can chat with them during work hours by using the chat widget on any page on JSTOR. And you can also, again, email us at support@jstor.org. You can also get to us by using the question button at the top of the page and go to contact us or help logging in. All right, let me get back into my slides. Oh, sorry about that. Go back to resources. And that concludes the content for our webinar today. We have our handout that compiles all of our support resources that we discussed, which is in the chat. It also includes a link to our events page to register for the other webinars. Dana, you are muted.
Always and forever. How many years have I been doing this and I'm still come in muted?
I know.
So we have a lot of thumbs up and a lot of love for the webinar. And one thing that I wanted to answer in terms of a question is the relationship between logging in and semantic search. We had some people say they couldn't see semantic search. Do you want to address that? And now you're muted for some reason.
I just wanted to take a sip of water.
Oh,
That's a great point. I believe that semantic results is tied also to our personal account and being logged in. So if you want to use that feature, you can sign up for, again, a free personal account, and you should be able to see the semantic results.
okay, they're coming in fast and furious. One person is saying they're having trouble seeing the handout. If you go up to the top corner of your screen, you'll see a chat box. If you click on that, you should be able to see the handout there. There's, yeah, okay. Now, let me know if you're not seeing the chat box. I can see the semantic results in search, but I can't click on it. Could you address that? That question is.
Yep. Normally, without seeing your screen, my guess would be that the semantic results gets grayed out if you have added any filters in your refine results sidebar. So if you have asked it to include only journal articles or images, your semantic results will be grayed out. So go ahead and clear your filters, and you should be able to toggle into semantic results.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, my face is looking blank. I'm reading questions as you're going. You know, we had one question I wonder if you can address, and it has to do with the content on JSTOR and language. Seeing a lot of things in English, and if you can talk about what other publications and what languages we might have.
You know, I am not sure that I have a ton of information about like the full extent of our like other language content. Do you have any further information about that, Dana?
If you do if you go into the advanced search bar, you can actually limit by language and choose things only in
Oh, I
specific
see what you're
language
asking. Yes, I see.
under advanced search. So you're kind of like flipping it rather than the chance. But I'm often finding things in other languages on JSTOR. One thing that's lovely is sometimes the abstract will be in English, but then if you scroll down, you'll see the rest of the languages in the language that you're looking for. So advanced search is often helpful.
Yeah, that's a great point. I wonder, I don't know off the top of my head, like what percentage of our content is in English and what's in other languages, and it would be a wonderful thing for us to know.
Yeah, I'm checking with our brain trust, and none of us seem to have that off the top of our head, but that is a great thing to know, the percentage. Of course, because JSTOR content is always growing,
Always changing.
there's always more content, and then journals, language choices, options often change as well. And now people are saying that they have found the handout, so I'm happy about
Yeah.
that.
And people that can't see the handout, go to Webinar, which is our platform that we use for these things. GoToMeeting has updated their platform recently, and we are putting the link to the handout in what they call the chat um, chat area. So you should see communication from us. It looks like two little chat icons on top of each other. If you can find that tab, which should be next to your Q&A tab, you hopefully can see the link to the handout.
There's a question here that I think has to do with the AI tool. It's, do these JSTOR searches get picked up in your broader user algorithms? And I wonder,
These searches, do these JSTOR searches get picked up in your broader user? I think there's a couple of different ways I could interpret this question, and you're welcome to clarify with us about where you're going. One thing, I always love to point out is that, we take data privacy really seriously. So all of, JSTOR searches are kept under secure lock and key, that's never being sold. We only use it for improving the platform. So if you're asking about what happens to the JSTOR searches and whether they are, you know, uh, they would never be sold to Google or something like that to be part of the Google apparatus. That would be one way of answering the question. I'm not totally sure. Let's see. Other ones that you were thinking about, Dana?
think tank reports are often written by real world policymakers experience in various areas who may be called to testify before legislatures, parliament, and court cases. And I'm trying to understand the relationship of that, but think tank reports are in our research reports. So you would find those under the research reports in the refined results sidebar if you want to look for that kind of content.
Yep.
Someone's asking about the JPass prices.
Oh. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I think I know the answer. But we do, again, we have an annual, yeah, so monthly it's $20 a month, then annually it's $200 for a year. You can subscribe in either way.
And then there is much love for our retired text analyzer, which we have recently retired. And I think one of the things that people want to know is that ever coming back?
I think that we are interested in the opportunities that the tool gave us, and there is discussion of how, what the future of that tool will be. We know that a lot of people used it and loved it. I don't think we are ready to share publicly future plans for it, but we love to hear the feedback that people are still thinking about it, still wanting it. And I think, Dana, that we're at time.
We are. I just thank you so much. And thanks, folks, for all your engagement. And we really appreciated your thumbs up and your hearts during the webinar. We got much love from all of you, or from many of you at least, and we do appreciate that. Thanks so much for joining us, and we hope to see some of you in our advanced webinar in September. Thank you.